Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Another Thursday. Hope you guys are having a good week. I know it's, again, I know I say it every week, but it's absolutely flying by because it just always is. Before we get into this episode, just want to let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist and the new T-Series irons. So, the evolution of the T-Series advances Titleist even further in our mission to produce the best irons in the world. New materials, new processes, and new refinements power new precision that must be felt to be believed. Each model is an instrument of exacting performance, passed from Titleist R&D to tour pros to you. Titleist T-Series, precision made, precision played. And if you haven't checked out the new T-Series, definitely check it out. Really, really great irons. I mean, T100, 100S, T200, absolutely phenomenal. Even the T300 is really good. So definitely check those out. Go to Titleist.com and check out the T-Series that may be right for you. So another week and another range session out in the, what was it, 18-degree weather or whatever it was. I think I posted something on Instagram at TG2, or I'm sorry, at TG2. That's the two guys talking golf, but at Club Junkie Pod. Instagram account, I think I posted my stories that I was out there Sunday morning hitting balls, and yet again, 18 degrees. It actually wasn't that bad. I mean, to be honest, it was the heaters. There was very little wind, so the heaters were pumping, and it actually wasn't that bad hitting balls. Yet again, my launch monitors didn't love the fact that it was 18 degrees because they were finicky. Again, they were a little better than last time when I think I was hitting balls in 17-degree weather and the wind was blowing in a little bit, but this time they were a little better, but still you got to a point where they just were pumping out some weird numbers and or not catching shots and just giving you maybe just club head speed or something like that. So both the full swing kit and the Mevo Plus were still basically trying their best to keep up, but unfortunately we're still struggling a bit. So, like I said, another week down. Like I said, hitting balls again. I'm really waiting for spring. I keep watching stuff. I'm watching a little bit of the Waste Management. I'm going to watch a little bit probably the Genesis this week, and it just kills me because it just makes me want to play more golf or play golf in general, and I can't play right now. I drove by the golf course today when I was out right before dinner. I had to go run a couple errands. I drove out and drove by the old golf course, and it's 85%, if not 90%, covered in snow still. So there's a little grass peeking through, and I think today and yesterday was a little warm. Today's supposed to be almost 50. And it should melt a good amount of that, but then Friday's supposed to get back down to 20, so it's whatever. But my commissioner in my league hit me up and was like, hey, we got to start talking about when we're going to start. The course started asking about, is our league coming back this year? So a lot of the juices are flowing, a lot of excitement. I'm geeked to get back and play again. I'm geeked to get out there, start walking 9, playing 9, hitting some balls, showing up there with a different bag for every single week. Just not there yet. So we'll get there. It'll be good. Just gotta wait a little bit. So, like I said, went to the range again. I'm still struggling with the swing a lot. I'm getting, I don't know what it is, but well, I mean, I know what it is. I'm a mental midget. Let's just put it that way. But when I get out to the range, especially a range with mats, I have a different swing when I go out to hit off mats as I do in grass. I've realized that I can't take a normal swing. The normal swing I have on grass, which again, my tempo is not great. I'm no Ernie Els or Fred Couples or anything like that. But my tempo on grass and the way I swing the club on grass is so much more conservative because, on mats, you can hit it a little fat, you can hit it wherever, and the ball still goes. The club gets through it bounces off the turf, it gets to the ball goes, and sometimes gets in the air, whatever. And off grass, that isn't the case. And, as we all know, we're all golfers. But for whatever reason, out on the range, the past 2 weeks, I'm just out there trying to absolutely murder the ball. Everything I'm doing out there is just swing as hard as humanly possible. And I don't know what it is. Even the only thing that I don't do is wedges. Wedges, okay, I'm okay. I can hit some soft little wedge shots, whatever. But it seems like every other club in the bag, I'm just trying to murder it unless I absolutely tell myself okay, let's just calm it down, slow it down, whatever. But and anytime I get swinging fast and hard, I start getting over the top, and I got a shut face, so I smother it and I hit it left, and it's just one of those. I was getting so frustrated this week just because I was out there doing that, and like there would even be shots where I was like, okay, like 75% this thing. Let's just swing nice and easy, whatever. And I'd get to the top, and then it was just the most violent swing I could ever produce, coming down and just hitting some bad shots. And it was a struggle. So I was hitting balls side by side. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new Mizuno irons. I had all three out there, kind of hitting them side by side, and it was just like to hit 10 balls of each that I felt like were decent shots, whatever. It was just like I said, I would hit like 2 good ones, and it was just like a bad one, and then it was just like, okay, get it back to normal. And it was just it took a lot of shots, and I just and then by the end you get tired, and you're wearing a couple layers because it's 18 degrees out. So it's just there's a lot of things that was just frustrating with my range session last week, and that was a little bit of a bummer. But I did get out, and I had basically the Mizuno Pro 221, 223, 225 out on the range, which I've hit a little bit before, and I kind of forgot that I never really talked about them on the show yet. But I took those out again just because I wanted to get some more swings with them. I really like the clubs; they look great, and I've hit a little bit with them, but I wanted to get some more shots in, and again do some like direct kind of side by side comparison hitting, and it was fun. It was just like I said, a little frustrating because it took me longer than it should have, and like I said, to hit however many shots I wanted to hit. Like I would be like, all right, let's hit like 5 good ones in a row, and then I'll move to the next one and whatever. And it just took me like I did a couple different sessions, hitting like 5 balls at a time with each one, and I did a couple different times, and it was just like I said, 5 balls turned into 10 because it was like hit a good one, hit a bad one, hit a good one, hit a bad one. It was just like I was hitting 5 bad ones for every 5 good ones, and it was just a little bit of a struggle. But I think also that kind of helps with me talking about it because I guess I'm technically a 9 handicap. I think that's going to go up this year, but it'll be interesting to see because I don't hit it. I don't hit it in the center every time, and I'm not even anywhere close to the center all the time or anything like that. I get it on the club face, and that's fine, and I usually get it in the air and all that. And when I miss, I'm missing it left and all that. But I think it gives a little idea into people who aren't scratch players. There's so many guys on YouTube and stuff who are just absolute sticks, and they hit it in the center every time, and that's great. And you can say like, okay, here's how the club performs, but I can hit it a little squirrely and let you know how I think of the ball. The Mizuno Pro Series, like I said, 3 different models: 221, which is the blade, and then the 223, which is kind of I don't know if it's necessarily considered multi-piece. It does have an undercut cavity to it, and then the 225, which is multi-piece, 2-piece construction, has a tungsten weight in it and all that. So depending on what you're looking for in terms of play, the 221 true blade, if you're looking for a blade that's extremely soft, very workable, very precise, all that, you've got it. If you're looking for something that's a little more forgiving, maybe gives you a little more speed, but still has that compact player shape, you got the 223. And then if you want a little more speed, a little more help, but you still don't want to go huge, 225. And really the 225, when you set it down, it's not that big. It's big. When you hit all 3 together, it's definitely the largest, but it doesn't have a ton of offset. It's still relatively proportionate in terms of shape and all that. And overall, I think it's a really good package for an iron that gives you the look of a player. When you set it down, you feel confident in it. You look at it and say, man, I'm going to hit some good shots with this. But if you don't hit the good shot, it's still going to help you out a little bit. But the Pro Series has been really good. A lot of people are talking about it. So I took all 3 out, hit them side by side, and So first off, the 221. So the 221, single piece forged. Single piece forged, smallest out of the 3, absolute beautiful. Typical Mizuno chrome. It's got this nice textured muscle on the back, a ton of mass behind the impact area of the club, and really thin top line, very, very minimal offset, and a good shape. It's not overly, it's got a sharper toe up here to it. It's not crazy squared off, but it's not rounded by any means. Fairly thin sole. But overall, just that look you'd expect from a Mizuno blade. It's just really classy, really classic. And of course, this one here, when you hit the center, it was the best feeling out of the three. I mean, it's what you'd expect. I mean, when people talk about Mizuno and they're always talking about the wedges and the irons, the reason they're talking about it is because they usually feel so good. They've got that really soft, forged feel, and these do the same. So these are those, the HD, the grain flow HD forged like they've done before, out of 1025 steel. Got the copper underlay under the chrome, so it's got a thin layer of copper on it as well. That's a little softer, and Mizuno said, in their testing, they had some copper, layered irons and some non, and people could tell the difference and say the copper ones were softer. So, but overall, it's a blade. I mean, I love looking at blades. You guys know I'm not, the guy who's totally enamored with them. I'm not going to be running to go put blades in my bag as much as I would like to. I just, these are just not, unfortunately, not forgiving enough for me. But the overall play of them was actually really good. I mean, looking at my wear mark on the top, it was definitely out kind of a little towards the toe, which is kind of my MO lately. Like I said, kind of coming from out to in and hitting down on the ball, getting steep. I've been hitting a little more off the toe. And surprisingly, had some pretty consistent results. I mean, I was pretty impressed with how well the ball flew and how good it felt for not hitting it absolutely dead center all day. And it really did. I mean, like I said, when you had a center strike, the thing actually felt phenomenal. It was really, really good. But when you did miss it, you definitely noticed it. There was definitely more vibration. In this here, I think I had the most deviation in terms of carry yardage. When I hit balls there, closer to center, distance-wise was pretty good. It wasn't quite as long as 223, 225. It was a couple yards behind. But in terms of deviation out of the 15 shots or whatever I kind of hit with each one, I think my deviation in distance on this was about 12, almost 13 yards. I think it was 12.7. Where the other two were single digits. I think they were both around 6 and 7 yards. So you definitely notice that without having, a cavity to it, having all the mass kind of behind the ball, you're definitely getting a club that feels great. And when you hit it in the center, it flies, flies perfect. It's very mid-launching, fairly flat ball flight. I think for the high spin, high-speed players, that's what they're looking for because they generate enough spin and height on their own. This thing did have that the Project X LS shaft in it, which is kind of their new low-spin Project X shaft, and which isn't something I would probably go for. I mean, I don't hit the ball super high, but it actually wasn't a bad shaft. It was very tight, very consistent, but it did provide a very flat ball flight, and thankfully, the 221 does spin a fairly decent amount. So with my 7-iron, I was spinning a little over 6,000 RPM, again with range balls and all that. So let's not get crazy into that number. But it did launch a little flatter than everything else. The launch on it was basically 15.7 out of all my shots, which was just a little bit lower than 223. And just actually not that much lower than 225 really, but launch for me was all kind of about the same for all three. But like I said, the biggest difference for me that I noticed with this was just that carry yardage difference. No matter where I hit it on the face, and when I looked at all three irons, I pretty much was hitting it in the same spot on all three, which was, kind of the center to out on the toe. And like I said, the difference in carry between all the shots, this was about 13 yards. But the nice thing about this thing is it isn't horribly, I remember hitting MP33s. And MP33s, those old blades, I was working in a shop and, taking some sets out or hitting them on the range. And when you missed it by just a little bit, you're absolutely hammered for it. The vibration that went through the club, the distance lost, the ball flight was terrible. I mean, everything about it was just absolutely brutal. This you can get away with a little bit. You miss it a little bit on the toe, a little bit, out there, a little bit high on the face. You're still going to get a shot that's not too bad. Like I said, mid-launch, penetrating. This is the club you could definitely work it. I mean, for me, hit a lot of draws, and it definitely had some curvature. When you hit that draw, you got it there. It definitely flew a little flatter, had a little more turn to it than the other two, which, was what this club is built for. I mean, the guys who want to play this are guys who want to work the ball, and they want to hit shots that have some curvature. They want to hit that fade. They want to cut it in there. They want to hit that longer draw and get it to kind of, release a little bit when they get to the green. So those precision shots that you want to hit, you can definitely do with this thing. You can hit it high. You can hit it low. All those shots are definitely available. For me, I was just trying to, the struggle that was me this weekend, I was just trying to hit it straight. So for me, I wasn't really trying to work it that much. I was just trying to get, those like 15, good shots in there. But overall, like I said, really good performer. The feel on it is extremely soft, very responsive. You know exactly where you connected on the face, no matter how close to center, whether it's on center, a little bit out, a little bit out, further out, whatever. Like you knew it had that really good responsive feel, and the vibration was perfect for where you hit it on the face. Again, no turf interaction because I'm hitting it off a mat, but it is a thinner sole, so you should get fairly decent turf interaction out of it, especially if you're hitting different shots. But I really liked the feel, and like I said, spin-wise, it didn't seem to be crazy high spin. It definitely would spin, and depending on your, if you're somebody hits down on it harder or anything like that, you're going to see higher spinning shots. With that, and if you're a picker, you'll see less. But again, this thing's a precision tool, and I think it's that's exactly what it is. It really allows you to hit the shots you want to hit, and like I said, when you could hit the same shot, it was extremely repeatable, extremely consistent. And like I said, forgiveness, there's some there. It's definitely better than some of the older models, some of the older blades. It's definitely gotten better. Is this something that a guy who's a 10 or 12 handicap who is quote-unquote a good ball striker should play? No. I mean, it shouldn't. If you better be a legit single handicap that, can strike it on the face pretty much the same all the time and not joke to yourself about that. Be legit honest and say, hey, do I hit it in the center? Because if you do, absolutely great club. But really good feel. Like that kind of lower, flatter flight, and love the fact that, when you set it down, it's a really good-looking club. I know that Mizuno kind of touts that the 2.2 series, or the Mizuno Pro Series, they've kind of changed up, made the short irons, more compact, and that was the one gripe I always had a little bit with Mizuno, is when you got down to the 9-iron and pitching wedge, they kind of looked big and chunky, and kind of had a big kind of rounded look to them, and never really liked looking at the pitching wedge or the 9-iron. And that kind of changed with, was it like JPX 9, what was it, the 919 kind of changed that a little bit. These are definitely, I want to say I could tell you that it's true, but they only set 7 irons in. So I only had 7 irons of each one of these. So I wasn't able to hit like, a 4-iron or pitching wedge and all that. So couldn't tell you like if the 4-iron was, easier to launch, or, the 9-iron flight, was able to flight down or looked better. But 7-iron had great look, really thin top line. I mean, like I said, if you like Mizuno blades, you'll like looking at this. And like I said, overall forgiveness, if you're somebody who fits into that blade category, I think you'll get a little bit of that forgiveness that you might want out of that. And if you're that 12 who claims to be somebody who hits their irons well, I think you still might want to stay away from this one, just because, like I said, when you do miss it, you do see a drop off in distance, and it's somewhat significant. I mean, if it's something where you're playing a shot where, a 7-iron for me is typically a 160 club. Out here, I'm hitting like, the 150s because it's, 18 degrees out. You're hitting range balls in 18 degrees. So you're losing a good amount of yardage. So hitting this thing, I mean, you're hitting that 150 type mark, and when you miss it, it drops down to the low 140s real quick, and that's not, you're routinely hitting kind of those 140 some yard shots instead of 150, like I said, in this weather. And it definitely is definitely noticeable. But like I said, overall, really consistent. Really love the feel of them. I mean, extremely soft, very responsive, but not like mushy soft. Like, it wasn't like, I know some of the PXGs, when you play, especially like a softer cover ball, can get almost mushy. Like, you don't even know where you hit it on the face. This definitely does not have that. It's soft, but it's still got a solid, responsive feel to it. So, 221 really liked. Like I said, definitely something that's not going in my bag. I mean, I guess I could, in theory, maybe combo set something up, but at that point, it's not really worth it for my game. But the 221, like I said, if you're looking for a really solid, really good blade, it's worth checking out. And then there is the 223, which, excuse me, I got like drying out today. So the 223 is kind of the next step up, and the 223 is basically built as, I'm not going to call it like a multi-piece design, but it definitely has a undercut to it. So Basically, they channel out behind the face to kind of thin it out, give it a little more ball speed, make the sweet spot just a little bigger. Then they kind of fill it with a basically a small kind of badge medallion that slides in there, and it's a little bigger than the 221 when you set it down, a little longer heel to toe, a little more rounded, a little thicker top line, which you'd expect. It's the next step up, but it is a really good looking iron. I mean, when you set it down, really solid iron. And this one here, basically you're going grain flow forged as well. In the 4 through 7 iron, it's the chromoly forging, which is a little different steel, and it's got that micro slot in it as well. And then I believe 8 down is solid one piece. Again, I don't know. I only got a 7 iron, so I couldn't see the rest of the set. But overall, the look of it is pretty darn good. It's got pretty minimal offset. Like I said, a little bigger iron. I actually kind of prefer the look almost to the 221, only because when you set it down, it kind of gives you at least for me, it gives me a little more confidence of like, yep, there's a little more real estate there. I can kind of hit it, a little more off the, if I miss it off the toe or hit it off the toe, which I kind of did, there's a little more space there. Sole's a little wider, but not crazy wide. It definitely has some trailing edge relief, so it's going to play a little narrower than it actually looks. But this one here, again, feel-wise, really solid. Not quite as soft as 221, which I think you'd expect with something not being a true blade. It's got just a hair more click to it, just a little bit more audible, and just a hair firmer feeling than the 221. But the 223 is definitely more forgiving. Like I said, the biggest thing for me with the 223 was it was a little longer. Overall, I think it was probably about 3 yards longer, 4 yards longer when I was hitting it in terms of average of all shots. And then the biggest thing, like I said, for me was this was just about 7 yards, 7 yards total distance variation. So from the longest shot to the shortest shot, I was basically about 7 yards difference, and that's cutting in half basically from 221. So basically showing that my misses on the 223, which again were kind of out on the toe, were carrying farther than the misses with the 221. Launch wise, just a little bit taller. Like I said, I was about 16 degrees with the 221. This thing here was basically just about 17 degrees, so about a degree higher launching. It also has a Nippon Modus 115 shaft in it, so a little more of a mid-high launching shaft compared to a low launching, low spinning shaft in the 221. I've got something here that's going to launch a little higher. So I think between head and shaft, it was about almost a full degree higher in terms of launch. But spin-wise was a little lower. I mean, I was at 6,000 there. This thing was about 5,800 or 5,700 on average across all my shots. So, a bigger difference there. And then smash factor was also up. I was at almost just under 1.2. I was like 1.17, and this thing here was 1.24. So, a little higher smash factor. Again, overall showing that shots struck in the center go great. Shots struck a little bit outside of that center, you're going to get much more out of those shots than you are the 221. Ball flight, like I said, a little higher, little more, little taller apex, a little more, not quite as boring as flight. Ball gets up a little faster, a little higher, and for me, probably dropped a little steeper. I don't know if I have angle of descent on here. I guess the Mevo Plus didn't give me angle of descent. Does it give me angle of descent? It doesn't. Huh. I thought it might. But, I got angle of attack, flight time, spin low, spin axis, roll, total, whatever. But I don't angle of attack. But if I had to guess, the angle of attack on the 223 would definitely probably be a little bit steeper than the 221. Like I said, launch a little higher. If you're looking to work the ball and you're going to flight something down, 223, you can definitely do it. Can you do it as easily as the 221? No, but you could still probably hit all the shots that you're looking to hit with the 223. Again, I thought the feel was really good. I think it was a little better than my I play a lot of the P770. I think the feel on this was definitely more solid, a little more, a little softer. still had just a little click to it, like which I think the P770 has. So just a little click to it, but overall, I think the performance of this iron is really good. I mean, it's not crazy hot. It's not like some of the players' distance irons where you're looking at faces that really the ball flies off of. In terms of carry yardage, it was definitely longer, but not by an insane amount. I mean, it was about half a club or so. It's not something where all of a sudden you're jumping to, you're going to have to like change up all your wedges and, you're playing 3 clubs different and all that. Easy transition into this. I think there's going to be a lot of guys who go 2-2-3 in the long irons and then go something with like a 2-2-1 in the lower irons. Just because, like I said, a little easier to launch, and that face you can get away with some shots, especially with the long irons that you're not going to be able to get away with the 2-2-1. But like I said, most of the strikes off the toe for me were pretty consistent. I mean, dispersion wise, were really tight. I don't remember exactly if I looked at. I don't want to get out of my one view here that I have everything, but I mean, dispersion wise with the 2-2-3 was probably the best out of the 3. Honestly, I think I hit that a little better than 2-2-5 overall, but it was. Like I said, a really solid iron. I think it's a great player's iron. Something that, anywhere from your plus handicaps all the way up to your kind of like, 10, 12 guys, and even maybe slightly above that, who are guys who are decent iron players will probably play this. I think you really get away with some shots. This is the one I'd be really interested to see the short irons on. Like I said, I only got a 7 iron, so thankfully all 3 were 7 irons. This day and age with media samples being extremely tough, sometimes you don't even get the same clubs. So having them all 7 irons at least was nice because I could go out and kind of hit apples to apples a little bit. But this one here, with, like I said, a little larger, a little thicker top line. Still pretty minimal offset. This is the one I'd like to see, like the 9 in pitching wedge. Did they get kind of big and rounded and larger? I'd be interested to see that. I think the 7 iron's a great shape. Like I said, I kind of like it over 2-2-1 only because I think it gives me a little more confidence, lets me look and say, hey, this thing is, it's going to give me a little bit of help. But the 2-2-3 really performed well, and I really like the fact that it's a little bit longer without being crazy. But that, little bit kind of thinner face, that slotted face, is just going to allow that sweet spot to open up a little bit more. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like T100S. Looks a lot, player's iron, all that. It just gives you just a little more. And for those guys who either need like that little bit of distance or that little bit of help with, a slightly bigger sweet spot, you get it, and you don't have to sit there and worry about looking down at something with, tons of offset and all that stuff. Like, it's really compact. And like I said, the consistency was really good. I think all the shots I hit, I was really impressed with how everything went. Decent swings, all were in the same spot. Like I was basically hitting at right over this one flag, and kind of aiming at like the corner of this building was kind of my aiming point. And everything there was pretty much there, just slightly left. And the corner of the building too, there was like this green awning section in it, which wasn't really large. It was a pretty small section. I think I would have been, half a green on a larger green. I would have been there all day, and I think distance-wise, I would have been, if I wasn't in the middle of the green, at that distance, I would have been right in front and had just had a long putt, just because this face let me get away with some stuff. So again, nothing with turf interaction because hitting off mats. So that sole though, definitely a little wider. As I'm breaking everything as I drop it off my desk. And it definitely has a little more bounce to it than the 2-2-1, and it's got kind of a little bit more of a blunt leading edge, the leading edge a little more rounded off. So I think anything in softer conditions should be pretty good with that thing. But the 2-2-3 was really good. I was really impressed. It was probably my favorite out of the 3. I mean, yes, the 2-2-1 felt the best, but the 2-2-3 was just between hitting it. Like I said, between the performance of it and the feel, I think just that combination is really, really solid. So, and then you get to the 2-2-5, which the 2-2-5, I think they kind of said it doesn't necessarily replace the Hot Metal Pro, but it's kind of that design. So it's basically a hollow body, so 2 pieces, back, face, and then there's a tungsten kind of slug or weight that goes in kind of low on the head. And this is that club that out of the 3. It has, kind of the most offset, probably the most rounded, and is the largest from heel to toe, got the thickest top line. But if you compare these to other irons out there, like I would say, if you compare this to, say, like a P770, I think you're going to, or P790, I think it's smaller than P790, got a thinner top line, you know, a little more compact. It's still going to be long heel to toe, but a little more compact. It's basically, I would say, kind of in between a 790 and a 770, because it's a little longer than the 770, but it's got that same kind of, it's not as bulky, not as heavy, but overall, just a really, really solid looking multi-piece forged club. I kind of like the little bit more rounded toe. I've always been into that. You know, but from a look of a dress, it is the biggest, especially when you're hitting them kind of all three side by side right at the same time. But it's a really good iron that performs really well. I mean, this one here, again, distance, in terms of carry distance variation, I think this was like 7.7 yards, so it was like 1 yard more dispersion than the 223, which I think is probably tighter than that, but with the swings I was putting on stuff, unfortunately, that's just kind of what you get. But this one, again, same thing. I was kind of hitting everything kind of center to out on the toe a little bit. And this one here kind of offered the highest ball flight. On this one here, I was kind of just, I mean, not much above the 223. 223 was basically at 16. This was like 16.4. So half a degree higher for me. And this one had that Project X IO in it. So the little higher launching, little lightweight version of Project X. So this is like 110 grams. I do have to say I kind of like the weight of the shaft. And the feel of it was pretty good. But the 225 definitely offered, you know, really tight dispersion. It did have, out of the three, I mean, again, we're saying it's got the worst feel out of the three. It definitely was the loudest, had a little more click to it, was the kind of the firmest feeling out of the three. But that's what you'd expect. It's a multi-piece head. I mean, it's got, you know, it's still the forged chromoly, so it's got that in the body, and then the back is laser welded on. And usually, unless you, like, you know, just stuff these things full of foam, you're going to get a little firmer feel out of it and a little more click and all that. And I think this one did have it. Now, this one here, you know, it did have, when you did hit it on the center, it definitely did have that feel of, you could kind of feel the ball compressing and jumping off the face. It definitely had a little more hot feel to it than, say, the other two. I mean, it definitely felt like the ball was kind of getting up and going a little faster than the other two. And realistically, ball speed was probably the highest. I mean, like I said, again, not swinging anything crazy fast when you're wearing all these layers and all that, but ball speed on the 221 was like 106. The 223 was that right around kind of 108. And then the 225 was like 109.6. So the ball speed on that one was the fastest. For whatever reason, I did swing the 225 0.2 miles an hour faster than the 223. But yeah, I mean, the 225 is definitely built for a little more distance, a little easier to get it up in the air. It's got a little wider sole, and forgiveness-wise, you're going to get away with some shots. Stability on this one was definitely a little tighter. You know, I noticed that shots on this definitely went a little straighter. They had like the least amount of curvature to them. So when I did hit that draw and kind of, you know, trapped it and hit it left, it went left, but it didn't, you know, it went more straight left than it did, you know, say 221 that have a decent amount of curve to it, and kind of started left, hooked left, and ended up the worst. This one here definitely had the least amount of kind of curvature to the shot, which, again, I think you'd expect there. Like I said, the sound and feel a little firm. The launch, I expected it to be a little higher. I didn't expect it to kind of be as flat. I mean, like I said, it was a slightly higher launching than 223. Kind of the same thing, had kind of a higher apex. It was a little flatter than maybe 223, like at the very top. It didn't quite, you know, shoot up and then straight down quite as quickly. And the spin number on it was actually the lowest out of the three, but it was pretty much the same as 223. It was basically between 56 and 5,700 on good shots. I had one shot that was totally misread, and it gave me like a 10,500 RPM, you know, spin, which was, you know, kind of threw some stuff off for a while. But overall, definitely, you know, for me, lowest spinning, definitely the longest out of the three, and the easiest to hit. I mean, it really was. I mean, it didn't jump that far ahead of 223 like I thought it would. But again, part of that could be me, and also, too, all three had different shafts in them. So if it was something where you could go put the same shaft on all three, I think maybe you'd see a little more or a little bigger difference between the three heads. But the 225 is really solid. I really did enjoy it. I think a lot of players you'll see kind of a 225 go in as a long iron. You know, you'll see a 4-iron, 5-iron, something like that, and some bags there for guys who aren't going to play the whole set, who want to combo them up. But it's a really good, you know, blade looking iron that's multi-piece, and you know, offers a bunch of speed and a bunch of forgiveness in a fairly compact package. I mean, when you set it down, it is the longest heel to toe out of the three. It is kind of the biggest face. But it overall isn't like a horrible. I mean, it like I said, it kind of fits for me visually in between like a 790 and a 770 from TaylorMade. I mean, it's a little smaller than the 770 visually when you set it down. Not quite as short heel to toe as the 770, which the 770 tends to be, pretty short heel to toe. But it, again, performs really well, and I think it's one of those irons that, you know, like I said, if you're looking for something that looks really good, has some ball speed to it, it definitely is there, and it's kind of that you know, player's speed kind of category, which is becoming bigger and bigger. You know, it's that player's iron that offers some speed. So I think it's becoming a bigger and bigger category, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this iron. But I think the whole line, really solid. I was a big fan of all three. I think, you know, if I was to kind of make maybe a little combo set, I'd probably go, I mean, realistically, unless the pitching wedge and 9-iron looked really, really big in the 223, I'd probably go the 223 the whole route, and then put, you know, that fly high 4-iron, which I've been hitting a lot. Probably just keep that in the 4-iron and, you know, run, you know, everything else. Maybe put the 5-iron in the 225, but I think the 223 would probably what I would go with there, and play that in basically the full set. So again, really really good lineup. You know, if you go to MizunoGolf.com, you can check out kind of all the details on these three irons. But overall, like I said, really, really good lineup. I think there's kind of something for everybody there, unless you're, you know, getting into the real beginner side. And then, of course, you know, the 225 may be a little much, but you know, out of the three, I think they're all really good. Personally, I think the 223 is going to be a pretty big hit. I just think it's a playable iron that's got good looks and offers just kind of a little bit of everything for anybody who's not, you know, scratch or below type golfer. So really like the Mizuno Pro Series, and I had a lot of fun hitting them. So hopefully I can get out and maybe, like I said, either get some other irons. Like I said, maybe, you know, a 5-iron and then like a 9-iron, something like that. I would love to see those in all three. You know, maybe if Mizuno is paying attention, you know, send us a long iron and a short iron in all three, and it'd be really, really great as well. So, but Mizuno Pro's really, really good. So the next thing I got, which that I was hitting out there, which again, if you saw my Instagram post, was quite a few clubs. I had a stand bag just absolutely stuffed with, you know, woods and irons and everything. But I did take out also the Mizuno. Grab them here. So the Mizuno ST-X 220 hybrid, as well as the Cobra LTDx hybrid. So both of these brand new out, and I had to reshaft the LTDx. So I'll talk about that one first. The LTDx came with a regular flex shaft in it. I think it was a KBS. The KBS, I think it was a PGI or something like that. Like 75 gram reg. So I took that out, and I had a you know, Nippon Modus Ghost hybrid shaft. So I put that in there, and I've been a big fan of the Ghost. I think it's a really good shaft, really kind of mid-high launching, really stable, really consistent. But put that in there, and I do have to say the LTDx is really a good hybrid. Actually flew a little flatter than I expected. I expected it to kind of really launch up high, and I thought that maybe the King Tech would be the, you know, low launcher and all that, and this flew a little flatter. I mean, it was easy to get on the air, easy to get up, even for someone who was kind of de-lofting it and kind of hitting it again a little high toe for as steep as I was getting. The ball was still getting up in the air pretty well. I mean, it was, like I said, more of a mid to mid high ball flight. I thought it was going to be a little higher, but kind of mid to mid high ball flight with this shaft. Definitely fairly neutral bias. I mean, it had a little draw to it. It would go a little left, especially if I got it way out on the toe. I could hit a big old, you know, toe hook with it. But for the most part, good shots were pretty straight. And if they did, they had just maybe a little bit of draw to them. And you know, the thing here really definitely went up and went. I mean, the face felt really hot. The sound is definitely metallic. It's got that, you know, that ting of that stainless steel when it goes. and which I think is kind of expected from hybrids nowadays, which is pretty pleasant. But overall, distance-wise, really good. It seemed to be pretty low spin. It seemed to fly pretty flat, and again, that was me kind of probably launching it lower than I typically do, just as the day went on. This was kind of after irons, after a couple drivers, so as I got a little more fatigued and tried to hit it a little harder, I was kind of, like I said, de-lofting a little bit. So I think hitting it, more in a traditional attack angle, you're going to see a little higher ball flight and a little more, maybe a little less draw out of it, maybe a little more neutral. But like I said, I thought it was extremely, a very neutral ball flight, not fade. King Tech, I think, is, you slap the heavyweights out in the toe. It's definitely a fade bias hybrid. This one here is going to be neutral to a little more draw, but it's not crazy left by any means, at least not for me, and I can hit some stuff left. But overall, like I said, ball flight was really good. Forgiveness and stability are pretty darn solid. I mean, like I said, I was hitting a lot of stuff off the toe that was going left when I did hit it there. And, you definitely hit it left, but overall, the shots, probably would have stayed pretty much in play. I would have gotten away with, I think, a lot of them. And, the ball speed, even on those toe mishits, seemed to be really, really good. The ball kind of seemed to really jump off the face out there, as well as when you did catch it in the center. But the LTDx is really good. I think it's, if you compared it directly to the King Tech, which I didn't have with me at the time because I had, these two hybrids, so I didn't grab it. And I wish I did to hit them kind of really side by side. I think that this one here is going to, launch a little bit higher. I think it's going to have just, a hair more draw bias to it. But I think also, too, like the face on this almost seems hotter. I mean, I think this thing, went loft for loft. I think, the LTDx will probably be just a hair longer and probably just carry just a touch more ball speed for me. But overall, a really good hybrid. I think I like the shape a lot. I mean, the Cobra hybrids, I think, have been pretty traditional, pretty classic. This one here, it almost, when you set it down, it doesn't flop open, anything like that. It pretty much sets as, it pretty much sets as a, pretty square to even slightly open when it hits the ground. So it's something that is really easy to hit and visually looks really good. You're going to see a pretty compact shape. Like I was hitting a 21 degree, which is, they didn't really have, do they have a mark on it? That is me just knocking irons off my desk. So I apologize for the the insanely loud knocking that was a second time. But anyway, the King Tech or the Cobra here, I mean, it's a 4 hybrid, which is at 21 degrees, but again, looks really good. And when you set it down, almost looked a little bit open, but it's pretty compact. It's got a nice round shape to it. I'm a big fan of of the shape. Like I said, being a little round. For some hybrids, like like a TSI 3, it gets a little squared off in the toe. That's not my look. I know for some better players, they really like that. I like a little more roundness to it, a little more, kind of fairway woodish look. But this one here, I think, has a really good shape. The matte black finish is really solid. And it just, no glare or anything like that. And like I said, really, kind of a consistent, good hybrid. I was really impressed with it. So I like this here. I'll be excited to hit this thing a little bit more. I want to everything I want to get out on the course and hit it, in play. But I think this thing here, face-wise, it was easy to hit off the turf, which is pretty much what I did. Tee-wise, the tee's kind of high. I mean, they have the power tees there, and even the lowest setting for a hybrid is just a hair high. But I definitely want to see how this thing goes off the tee, because I think, face depth-wise, it's got a good, little deeper face to it. It's not quite as, narrow as, say, like a Ping hybrid, but it's got a little more depth to it, so I think hitting off the tee would be no problem as well, which is something I do a lot with a hybrid. But overall, just really impressed with it, and thought it was a good, solid hybrid. If you're looking for something that, that's pretty neutral, it's not crazy, it doesn't have to be the most anti-left, hybrid out there. It can have, a little bit of a neutral ball flight or even just a hair of a draw to it. I think that LTDx would be a very good choice. And then there's the ST-X 220 from Mizuno, which is their brand new hybrid. Overall, from looks, a little bigger than the Cobra, and there's this one here's a 4 hybrid, it's a 20 degree instead of being 21, but has a typical all black gloss top to it, pretty traditional. Face is just maybe a smidge deeper than the Cobra, But overall, again, a really good-looking hybrid when you set it down. Sets up pretty much square. Maybe just it's pretty much square. I mean, like I said, if you manipulate it a touch, it can look a little open, it can look a little closed, but for the most part, it's pretty much dead square. The look is really good. Like I said, a little bigger than the Cobra, but again, more rounded shape to it, and a little longer heel to toe. The sound on this one, again, got that high pitch kind of ting, a little higher pitch than the Cobra, a little more, that like ting to it than the Cobra does. Not a ton, but just a little bit higher pitch sound. Performance-wise, the thing gets up in the air pretty easy. I would say this thing is, more of kind of a mid-high to high-mid launch. I think this thing's a little higher than the Cobra, especially even shots when you miss it out on the toe a little bit. The ball still got up in the air. Really easy to launch. I think that wave technology out there, if you catch it thin, still helps it kind of get up in the air, carry some ball speed. But it was definitely a little higher launching, and it had a little more draw to it. This one here, I think, is going to, which I think is built for that. I mean, I think this is built as kind of a higher launching draw hybrid, and out of the two hitting them, this one here definitely had a little more left to it, which I think, as much as, a lot of the better players are going to sit there and say, oh my God, I can't touch it. It's, it's got too much draw or it goes left. 99.9% of golfers out there slice the ball, and I think this thing here is going to offer some draw that will really help them. Forgiveness seems to be really good, though. I mean, hitting shots from the center out to the toe, the ball kind of had, a similar ball flight. It would draw a little bit, it would kind of get up quick, kind of hit, a little high, a little soft draw, and land, left to target or where I was aiming. And, for me, that's just one, what I do, but two, this thing's easy to turn over. Now this one here had the Tensei CK Blue 70, and so that's pretty traditional shaft there, pretty mid to mid high launching, and like I said, it was really easy to hit. I think forgiveness wise, this head you will probably keep balls on line a little more with this compared to the LTDx. This thing like I said, bigger head, but also too, if you're somebody who worries about hitting it right, you're probably going to take a little bit of that right side out of it. So. As much as you're kind of comparing to the Cobra, they are, slightly different in terms of performance, I think. But the ST-X 220, again, ball seems to jump off the face. The face seems really hot. It doesn't quite have as much of the kind of compression feel as the Cobra, but it still definitely has a lot of that. Like I said, the ball gets up easy. It's easy to hit, off the deck. Really simple, but it's overall a really easy to hit hybrid. I think if like I said, somebody's looking to take a little bit of that right side out of play, this thing here will definitely do a little bit of that while still getting the ball up. I think it's still going to land really soft on into a green, whether it's a long par 3, par 4, par 5, whatever you're going to hit it into. You're definitely be able to get the ball up. Probably has a little bit more spin than the Cobra. Like I said, the ball flight was just kind of more. That had that kind of sharper apex where the ball just got up quick and kind of fell, landed, fell out of the sky faster. It wasn't quite as boring. And like I said, I don't think I hit one ball to the right with this thing here. Everything was straight to slightly draw. But again, I think most players, that's gonna fit their game. And in this package, it looks good, it feels good, it sounds good. I mean, everything about it is really darn solid. So if you're a player looking for a really good hybrid, easy to hit. But without being, crazy high, I mean, you can still, hit some other shots with it and stuff like that. But you want a little draw. I think the Mizuno ST-X 220 or the 220 ST-X is a good option. Like I said, for the players who are absolutely terrified of going left, this may not be exactly what you're looking for. But it may be something worth hitting anyway. But overall, really like the feel of it. Really like the sound. For me, like I said, a little bit too much left in it for me, just because that's my shot shape. But really good hybrid for probably most players, and honestly, most golfers will probably really enjoy hitting that thing. So that's pretty much what I got, I guess, for right now. Hopefully, I will get out. I don't know if I'm gonna hit any balls this weekend. I did hit some other stuff. So I've got some other stuff to talk about still, but this weekend, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if it's supposed to be maybe get a little snow. So we'll see what goes on, but if I can, I will get out and hit some balls, and if not, I'll watch a little golf and stuff like that. So I think that's all I got this week. Again, follow me on at Club Junkie Pod on Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, hit me up on there. That's where I'm easily reached. You can just DM me, whatever. I typically answer most questions. I don't think I missed too many. But and then also hopefully I did my my I'll try to do my Q&A, little kind of Q&A session every week. Typically it's on Wednesday, sometimes on Thursday. It just depends on what's going on. So hopefully I'll do that there. So check that out. And yeah, I appreciate everybody who listens. Thank you. And we're getting closer to spring, so I'm excited. But hopefully everybody has a good week. Have a great weekend. And we'll talk next week.